Prepare for a soul-stirring story, one that shows the power of faith uniting people, even when they appear different on the outside. Imagine a special place where the search for peace and the presence of the divine meet in an unexpected way. A simple night of prayer transformed into a moment of profound healing and transformation for the lives of those who crossed paths in surprising ways. Stay with us because what happened that night is a powerful reminder of how mercy and forgiveness can change everything. Before we get into the story, if you have someone close to your heart who needs prayer, write their name or their family member's name in the comments right now. We'll add all these names to our main prayer with a rosary, asking for graces and blessings. And if our work, our videos touch your heart and you want to help keep this message alive, consider making a donation with whatever amount you feel in your heart. Just click the first link in the description or the thanks button below the video. We thank you with all our hearts, and may Jesus repay your generosity doubly, helping us greatly to continue spreading this light. The scene unfolds on a high plateau, with a serene view of the surrounding mountains, a place known for its atmosphere of prayer and reflection. It was evening, and a group of people had gathered there. They were men and women from different walks of faith, some who considered themselves believers from evangelical churches, others Catholics with a strong devotion to Our Lady, all united by the desire to be closer to God and find peace. They had come to this place, inspired by Medjugorje's reputation as a place where heaven seems to touch earth, in search of something that only deep spirituality can offer. The silence of the night was broken only by whispered prayers, the gentle cadence of rosaries gliding between fingers, and hymns rising to the heavens, creating an atmosphere of profound communion, despite the differences in each person's background. This union in prayer, seeking the intercession of the Virgin Mary, was the invisible bridge that connected those hearts that night. As the prayer flowed, and the moon gently illuminated the landscape, the stillness of that encounter was shattered unexpectedly. Two figures approached in the shadows, people who were not part of the initial group. As they approached, the dim light allowed their faces to be seen. They were two men, with expressions that mixed curiosity with a certain rigidity. Something in their posture indicated they were not there for prayer, at least not in the same way as the others. There was an untold story in the eyes of one of them, an old hurt, a resentment that seemed to weigh heavily on his shoulders. The prayer group, taken by surprise, paused momentarily, their looks oscillating between surprise and silent questioning. The unexpected presence brought a momentary break in the serenity that hung in the air, introducing an element of uncertainty into that sacred space. The prayer group leader, a white-haired man with a serene gaze, was the first to speak, approaching the newcomers with a welcoming smile. However, the response he received was distant and even a bit harsh. One of the men, his voice choked with pent-up emotion, began to speak about an old conflict, a disagreement that had separated him from some members of the group years ago, a wound that had never fully healed. He expressed his anger and frustration, unburdening himself before everyone, bringing the weight of the past to the surface for this present moment of spiritual seeking. The tension in the air grew thicker, and some in the prayer group felt the impact of those pain-laden words. It was a test of the faith and capacity for acceptance of everyone present, a challenge to the serenity that prayer had built. The room seemed poised for confrontation, with past hurt threatening to dim the light of prayer. It was at this point that something special happened. One of the women in the group, with a soft, compassionate voice, began to sing a hymn of forgiveness and healing. Her voice joined with others, and soon everyone in the prayer group, believers and Catholics alike, was singing songs that spoke of divine mercy and the importance of releasing the bonds of resentment. The simple yet powerful melody began to penetrate the wall of anger one of the men had erected. It was as if the very atmosphere of the place, sanctified by countless prayers, enveloped everyone, creating a safe space for vulnerability and healing, demonstrating that shared faith has the power to soften even the hardest hearts. As the songs continued, the man who had expressed his hurt began to cry. They were not tears of anger, but of a deep sadness accumulated over the years. The other man with him, until then silent, placed his hand on his shoulder, a simple gesture of support. The prayer group leader approached again, this time not to speak, but to offer a sincere and warm embrace. One by one, members of the group, regardless of their denomination, approached the two men, offering words of comfort and gestures of reconciliation. The invisible wall that resentment had built began to crumble, brick by brick, under the weight of compassion and faith manifested in that place. It was a living testament to the power of unity in prayer and the call to forgiveness that resonates in all paths of faith. That night, under the starry mantle and the felt presence of Our Lady, transformation began to take place. The man who had been crying after being welcomed by so many open hearts began to speak differently. He no longer lingered on his grief, but expressed a genuine desire for peace, to be freed from the burden he carried. The second man, touched by the scene and the atmosphere of acceptance, also shared that he was impressed by how the faith of those people manifested itself in love and forgiveness. It was a moment of conversion of hearts, a recognition that the greatest strength lies in the capacity to love and forgive, something that transcends external differences and finds an echo in the essence of spirituality. That unexpected encounter, which began with tension, culminated in a moving demonstration of how faith can be an agent of radical transformation. The emotion in the air was almost palpable. After all the outpouring and the sincere welcome of the prayer group, something broke within those two men. It was no longer the initial rigidity, but an exposed fragility, a recognition of the need for something greater. As the final note of the hymns of praise echoed softly into the night, they, almost in a spontaneous and synchronized movement, knelt right there, on the packed earth of that seemingly blessed plateau. Slowly, as if the weight of the past were being deposited on the ground, they bowed even lower, lying on the cold earth at the feet of an image of Our Lady that stood there, a visible symbol of the presence and intercession that many sought in that place. It was a silent surrender, a gesture of profound humility before the divine and the community that welcomed them without judgment. There, lying beneath the vast night sky, the two men's gazes rose to the stars that dotted the dark expanse. Those distant lights seemed to bear witness to human frailty and the grandeur of divine love, as if each bright spot were a reminder of the vastness of creation and the insignificance of earthly sorrows in the face of eternity. Amidst the silence that followed the communal prayer, they began to murmur their own prayers. They were words of sincere repentance, requests for forgiveness for the pain they had caused and carried, and cries for help, for a new chance, for peace in their hearts. They also asked for prayer, the same prayer that moments before had been offered by those they had approached with such reserve. It was a humble acknowledgement that they needed the spiritual support of this newfound community, an invisible bond forming there, under the watchful gaze of the stars and the serene intercession of Our Lady. The night wore on, and the prayer continued, now with the two men participating, more quietly at first, but with visibly lighter hearts. The presence of Our Lady, invoked so lovingly by the group, seemed to envelop everyone, mediating that moment of grace. Forgiveness was requested and granted, not only among those involved in the ancient conflict, but in a broader sense, a release of the burdens and hurts that many there carried. At the end, there were hugs, handshakes, and the clear sense that something deep had been healed. The unity of believers and Catholics in that prayer, with its focus on Mary's maternal intercession, demonstrated that true faith manifests itself in practical love and the ability to welcome others, regardless of their past or initial beliefs. That night in Medjugorje became a symbol of hope in reconciliation and the transformative power of shared prayer. This story makes us reflect on our daily lives. How often do we carry unnecessary burdens, old hurts, or distance ourselves from people because of differences? Daily prayer, like the one that night, is a constant invitation to seek inner peace, forgive those who have hurt us, and ask forgiveness for our own mistakes. It's a chance to strengthen our faith and open ourselves to daily conversion, that change in attitude that brings us closer to God and others. Just like in that group, prayer in unity, even with differences, has immense power to generate reconciliation and remind us of the importance of love and acceptance. If you know someone who needs to be remembered in our prayers, write their name in the comments right now. We will feature them in our main prayer with the Rosary, asking for blessings in their lives. This story shows us that, on the journey of faith, the most meaningful encounters can happen when we least expect it, and that forgiveness and conversion are gifts accessible to everyone, regardless of their journey. Unity in prayer, as we have seen, creates a sacred space where healing becomes possible. We want to know how this story resonated with you. Leave a comment below, sharing your thoughts on the power of prayer, forgiveness, and faith in your life. Your opinion is very important to us and to the entire community that follows us. And if you enjoyed this video, if this message resonated with you, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future content. May God bless your journey.